Okay, good afternoon. Hello, everybody. Welcome to another edition of LINGUA GYM TV. Today it's a sunny day here in Vigo at last. It's 4 p.m. Hello, everybody. I know that you are following and listening to us from different parts of the world. So I hope that you're also having good weather and that you are enjoying the webcast that we have for today. And that one more week, I have to say that I want to congratulate, ourselves, because we are bringing every week more and more interesting guests and I think very interesting topics. It's what a good way to practice your English at the same time that you are learning and enjoying useful contents. And I think today it is, and needless to say how important it is to accept and to understand the importance of China as as a super country in the world, and of course from the point of view of trade and commercial activity and business. And the truth is that there are important differences in our culture, in our way of being, in our way of understanding relationships, personal and professional. And it's quite dangerous to start those relationships with them if you don't know some basics. Today, fortunately, we have here Alexandra that will be sharing with us her knowledge, her experience, her background. And by 1 hour, you should have much clearer ideas about these things, many things, because Alexandra's background is definitely interesting from many points of view. So first things first, Alexandra, thank you again for being here. Thank you very much for finding some time in your busy agenda. And tell us, how are you? How's everything going?
Hi, David. First of all, thank you for inviting me. It's a real pleasure to see you again, because given our previous cooperation, and I'm really glad to see you again here and to take part in this event, which is interesting by itself. And I think it's a pleasure for me to share all my knowledge that I have about China, and not only talk about the trade with China, but we will touch the very interesting aspect of the business mentality. So maybe our listeners could think about the mentality of the country they belong to and to compare it with the Chinese, or even start digging deeper into this topic to understand the cultural differences of many countries, who knows. So probably this stream will find more applications for our users.
Sure. And yeah, you have already mentioned our previous cooperation. Let me tell you first of all that we had the privilege to count on Alexandra on our team, on our teaching staff some years ago. Too short experience, by the way. Unfortunately, she needed to leave our team to continue the development of her career. Now she will talk about that. But well, Alexandra, you don't know how much we missed you, and we still miss you. And
thank you so much. Yeah.
And our users really miss you and your sessions. Alexandra was especially good at two types of session, I would say. The general level classes, because as you can see, she speaks really good English, so she was able to teach very well, very structured, very dynamic sessions. But she was also very specialized in what we call the professional workshops, which is these sessions simulating real business situations. Her business background really, I think, that facilitated her to be better and to be especially good at designing interesting sessions for her students. Tell us, what do you remember about your experience teaching, not only English, because you also taught Chinese to our students? What do you remember about that part of your experience and working with our team?
Well, as you said, it was extremely interesting, first of all, to take part in this workshop and to organize and to collaborate in organization of these workshops. And for me, I think it was double interesting because Synergy was, let's say, the first educational institution or organization that I encountered after I graduated the university, and I graduated in I don't remember now, 2007 or 2008. So for me, it was extremely interesting to compare the Russian university where I studied before and the Western way of teaching, and also to compare with the Chinese one as well, because I worked for some short time also teaching in Chinese middle school. I was teaching English there. So in Synergy, I remember for me, of course, it was kind of new thing to see the organization from inside, and to see that the way of management in Synergy and the way of organizing the things is quite egalitarian, I would say. The most important is that you keep so high standards to education, and you always develop, not only just leaving the teachers with, do whatever you want thing, no, but you have the program and you really put a lot of thoughts into this program. For example, if I take the program of Lingua Gym, that I think it's highly elaborated and the students love it. And we always had very positive feedback about Lingua Gym, and the teachers also enjoyed it. And me, it was a great help for me as well, because you could take not only the teaching idea itself, but you could learn some teaching techniques, and maybe even you can learn even some vocabulary if you don't master it as well. So yeah, from the organizational point of view, it was really fun. And of course, personally, it was a real pleasure to talk to work with all of staff of Synergy. All of you guys are brilliant, and it was just a pleasure. I even had some short Chinese sessions with Josephine, I remember. But teaching Chinese and teaching English, it's a different story. I had some Chinese, some students who were willing to study Chinese, but with some of them we advanced quite a lot. But I think the main issue, we call it issue, but the main obstacle that the students might have learning Chinese is the time invested, because you take a modern adult, everybody is so busy, work, family, personal life, and Chinese requires a lot of time, just a huge amount of time. I remember myself, I was taking 3 classes per week, 2 hours each, but then you have homework and you do this homework for at least 2-3 hours. So you study every day. I can't imagine modern person, even myself, if I want to improve my Chinese now, and if I start thinking about investing more and more time in that, I just physically don't have this time. So yeah, I understand some students that they just didn't have they just physically didn't have the time, and we unfortunately had to stop the classes. But if somebody wants to continue, well, we will find a solution.
Yeah, of course. And well, we will touch later, of course, the importance of Chinese as a language for business, how important it is to speak Chinese or not. But well, thank you very much for your word. It's really, rewarding this feedback, and we are super happy to know that you enjoyed, and we don't lose, the hope of counting on you again someday. But well, your career is going very well, so I understand that for now we have to wait.
Yeah, I have to balance.
Yeah. Yes, Synergy. Remember, everybody, Synergy Didactics is the name of our company. The different divisions of our company, and one of them, the main project for our audience is Lingua Gym. And Lingua Gym TV is like one more service for Lingua Gym. Remember that it offers you the possibility of enjoying sessions of any language at any moment of the day, in any level that you need, any type of session that you need. So you can cover all the goals. And I have to say that when we started Lingua Gym, actually Alexandra was one of the main teachers covering the service, and that helped a lot to start well. So, but let me tell you that we have improved a lot, because that was like more than 4 years ago. Lingua Gym is a much more potent service now. Of course, well, Lingua Gym TV is an example of that, to offer this extra practice to our community as a way to keep in touch with the language and enjoy interesting contents. And yeah, I think that that part of your life was some kind of like a parenthesis, because you came from China and now you are living in the Basque country, if I'm right. You are in
Well,
Bilbao.
I work in Bilbao, but I live in Cantabria. Well, it's close.
Oh, okay,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
And you are again in the business of commercial relationships with China, and that was like a little parenthesis in your life when you were here in Galicia?
Um, well, right now I'm working in a Basque company, which is dedicated to, it's engineering company. We do power electronics, machines, different automation systems that are applied in different industries. And I'm not, nowadays, I'm not really directly connected to trading operations, because I shifted, and actually, even when I was working in China, I already shifted at that time to the administration part of the business. So nowadays I'm providing the administration and financial support to our Shanghai company, which is relatively new established. And my task is to ensure that all our operations are running smoothly, that the company is properly registered, that all the relationship with the government institutions or relevant authorities are done well. Plus the financial support, all the financial operations, accounting, so consulting. So basically, it's all this kind of support that you can imagine when the company is running out season. Of course, I think one of the main tasks of mine is to ensure that our Chinese subsidiary and the Spanish headquarters really understand each other well, because it's not only about the language, but today we're going to talk about the mentality. I see a lot of situations when the mentalities clash, and they speak English, both of them, both sides, but they don't understand. So sometimes, it costs a lot, and sometimes even when I start explaining the issue, it really costs to understand, because it's just too different. So yeah, my job now is mostly like this. Yeah, before I was more involved into trade when I was working in China, but then I found my way in administration and finance, and I totally love it now.
Well, the first time I met you, I remember the surprise, a Russian woman, that could teach Chinese. So it was like, in Spain, it was like, what's going on here? And then I understood that, well, Russia is a huge country, and I know many people I know a number of people from Russia, but I haven't met before anybody that had been born so close to the border with China, and that's your case. Where were you born? What can you tell us about the life of that part of Russia that is like so far from Europe and actually so close to China? It's something quite peculiar.
Yeah, I was born in the part of Russia which is called Far East. Well, as you can imagine, the geographically it's just there. Actually, when you Google the distance to China from Khabarovsk, from the city I was studying in, I didn't know that. So yeah, it's quite close. Everybody knows it's very close to China. It was let's say weekend activity just to go to China to do some shopping there. Then you just come back. And historically, there were a lot of Chinese always at that area. Even an interesting fact, when I came to China, the first time I came to China, and I went to the bookstore, and I took a map of China, and the Far East of Russia was included as a Chinese territory, because at that time they were still considering it their own territory. There were some disputes, maybe there still are, but yeah, historically there was always a presence of Chinese people in that area. And in the city where I was born, it's called Komsomolsk, we had quite powerful, quite a strong education system, and which involved at that time the exchange programs with Chinese people. So we always had Chinese people in the city, and later the Chinese workers were coming to do some construction works or to work in the factories. So yeah, there was always a presence of Chinese. For me, it wasn't really much of a choice because there was always a choice, but I was thinking I had to study some language because I probably at that time I already shown some interest in foreign languages, and English was a mandatory in school. So I was thinking towards some. Actually, at first I was thinking towards Spanish, but then my parents kind of indicated that, well, Spain is there and you're here, so just go for some Chinese or Japanese. And then I just signed up for Chinese classes. I was 14 at that time, I think. Yeah, I took a 4-year program. I managed to learn, let's say if you count by the levels, maybe it was like C1 or something like that. And then I decided to continue in the university. So I entered the university and I had to study from zero again because the program started from zero. And in order not to waste time and just to boost, the process, I went to China to study there for a couple of years. It was like, studying in Russia, but at the same time in China, coming back to Russia to pass exams and then coming back to China again. So yeah, I spent this time between two countries, graduated, and I had a very clear idea by the end of my studies in the university that I want to live in China because I was just fascinated by Shanghai. And I knew that Shanghai is my destination. I just want to go there and I want to live there and I want to work there. I was just totally under the influence of the city, and just I graduated, and I think 2 days after I just packed my things and I said, okay, I'm going. And then I went to Shanghai and I spent 9 years there.
You traveled by yourself, and if I can ask?
Yeah.
Okay, so you had clear your plan.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Great. Well, I mean, we could spend more than what webcast only talking about that, about this change in your life, because it's interesting enough. But yeah, just at least to have some idea about the impact that was in your life, leaving your family, going to a different country. But perhaps my first question is about that impact. Did you really feel a cultural impact? Because given the fact that you live so close, there were so important differences between the lifestyle and the mentality, in the social life, etc.
Yeah. I was also thinking about that, and I could say that the answer is no. Probably I was just so integrated already, even being in Russia, and I always had Chinese people around. I always had interaction. Even when I started studying Chinese, the Chinese people were coming to teach us, or sometimes I would spend some time with the Chinese people outside. So I already had the feeling of some understanding, some basic understanding. Of course, when you come to live in the country, it's totally different because you're not only there as a student or as a tourist, then you feel the life itself, and it's not only the positive side. Maybe there are some negative sides also, some obstacles that you have to overcome, and then you realize the country is like this. But anyway, it wasn't a shocking effect. I would say that probably I felt this difference in Spain when I came back from China. For me, it was much more of a cultural impact here in Spain than in China, because I think I was so much under the influence of Asian culture that it already formed part of me, And when I came to the West, I felt like I am a stranger here in the West. It's quite curious,
What kind of, do you remember any examples of things that impacted you and were perhaps hard for you to adapt to when you came to Spain?
I was thinking that one of the things that struck me here was the idea of close physical contact, that people really like a physical contact here, and they really they form relationship also by this, and in China no, and in Russia neither. So we always stay very aside, and we prefer we keep the distance. And for me, when some strangers started touching me, kissing me, you know, even just to say hello and then to leave in 5 minutes. For me, that was kind of a hard thing to process. You know, it was kind of a cultural shock. Well, it's the basic thing, but the first thing that comes to my mind.
And now that you have this experience and you are still living in Spain and this Latin or Mediterranean culture or whatever, you can compare, you know how to live in the Eastern mentalities, and now that you live in this Western culture, what sounds, or what do you feel more natural and more comfortable for you? You know, what is the point of physical contact that you find reasonable between humans socializing?
Well, the reasonable one probably is the contact with the people I already know. That could be reasonable because, for example, if you take Russia, even with in a family, inside the family, we don't have it. But here, yeah, okay, I could move a little bit forward. Yeah, I kind of changed my attitude towards that, but not totally, you know, I didn't totally adapt the Western style, the Mediterranean.
Well, now I'm starting to remember if we shake hands when we met, I'm starting to feel bad because perhaps I
No,
made
shaking
you...
hands is okay. Shaking
Okay.
hands is okay, but like you know, hugs, kisses, this for me is way too much, honestly speaking. Yeah.
Okay. I see. Well, and the thing is that, well, now you are settled down, I think, in Cantabria is where you live, working for
Yeah.
this past company, and you have already explained what you do. What can you tell us about your company? You already explained a little bit about the industry that the company belongs to. Tell us about your company. What do you do? What is your main service? What are the main, you know, aspects about the company you work for?
Well, as I mentioned, we are like we are a big corporation that combines different kinds of business units, but the main business is power electronics, generators, motors, and automation systems. For example, in the business unit that I work for and that is related to our Shanghai office, we belong to marine industry, and we provide electric plant and automation system for vessels of such kind as dredgers, offshore installation vessels, crane vessels, this kind of industrial kinds of vessels. So we provide service in China, and this is basically what we do and what I work with every day.
The name of the company?
Ingeteam.
Okay.
Or Ingeteam in Spanish.
Ingeteam in Spanish, yeah. Okay, good. Okay, let's get to the point. Yeah, we are impatient to try to go deeper in all these aspects that we know that are important. And of course, we don't have enough time now to go deeper into, you know, because it's not only enough to know about them, you know, to feel really strong in a negotiation or relationship with these kind of actors. You need to practice this sense, and it's a process, but at least it's of course important and interesting to have the, you know, previous information and previous warnings, let's say. Let's start perhaps from the beginning. From the point of view of a Spanish company or a company, you know, whatever, interested in a business relationship with China, with a Chinese provider or client, who knows, what are the first steps to follow? What are the first steps that you recommend to follow in order to start, you know, a cautious relationship?
Well, as we said already, China is very different. Yeah, but sometimes as representatives of Western world, we know it's different. We know it's far, but we don't know exactly where the differences are. And I will try to give you some ideas, some brief ideas, and you will understand if it's really a difference or something else that marks China as outstanding. So you said that you mentioned that yeah, we have to keep in mind some certain things when we start the relationship with Chinese provider or any business partner that we have. And actually, relationship is a key word here, because in China, there is such a concept that you have to follow and we have to respect 100%. And the concept is called guanxi. You will hear this word even in the Western literature. It's just written like this, guanxi. In Chinese, it means relationship. So all business in China is built around this guanxi. Maybe if we go back to the principles of Confucius philosophy, we would remember that in the ideal world, in the world full of harmony or peace, everybody plays its own role. Yeah? Everybody takes his own position, and all the participants are connected with each other by some relationship. And when this relationship is not broken, it creates a whole general harmony. And like this, the whole universe is functioning very well. It's of course, it's very idealistic, yeah, but you could catch some idea from here. So if you want, let's say we talk about business, if you want your business to function well, so here there are two participants, basically, you and your business partner. So you have to build this relationship. To build the relationship, to build this guanxi, it means to build the trust between both of you. So of course you can just come out of nowhere, sign a contract, like, cold blood, just keep the very cold relationship. I give you money, you give me service, yeah. But like this, you will never get the favorable conditions for yourself. Before signing any contract in China, you work a lot on this mutual trust. You build this relationship, you build guanxi. Because when you think about trust, usually there are two types of trust that exist in the world. There is a cognitive trust that comes comes from the actions, your evaluation of the actions. So for example, you provide a good service, you promise to provide the good service. Okay, you provided it, I trust you, you're a good supplier. And there is a affective trust. I like you as a person. So in China, these two types of trust are kind of combined. So and you can work both parts of them. So you can do business, and at the same time, you could also build the personal relationship with the business partner. So like this, this kind of mutual trust, this kind of loyalty to each other, it brings people together, and you are bonded by something just bigger than a contract. Yeah, you are bonded already by something. So once this is built, you can come to the negotiation of the deal, and well, if you already trust each other, you could probably discuss the conditions that you are interested in. So of course, this guanxi, this relationship, you build with your business partners, but you can also build them inside your team. For example, if you are leading a team in China, or if you work in a multicultural organization which has the Chinese colleagues inside, you build this relationship also within the group. It's very important. You don't stay away from the group. Also, you could build this relationship even with the representatives of some authorities. Yeah, I remember, I can give you my personal example. When you establish a company in China, it's very, very important to have this good guanxi with the tax bureau. It means you come to the tax bureau, you get to know to the person who will be responsible for your company, and you just you become friends. You have to, well, friends no, but you have to build a good relationship with this person, because you will be asking favors for sure. Because usually, China has a lot of paperwork, so there will be always this flow. When you have to submit something, they will be rejecting something, then you will be involved into this circle. So you will have to be you will have to find a reliable person, and you have to trust each other and sometimes ask favors. So that will be kind of a base for your establishment in China, for the start. Mm-hmm. So this is one of the basic principles that you have to follow. You have to pay attention to this guanxi building. In Western companies, I think it's not so common, right?
Yeah, but at the same time, I think we have to stop here and to make sure if we see a contradiction here or not, because on the one hand, you said before that, you know, the Eastern culture is more reluctant to the physical contact and they like keeping the distance.
Yeah.
With the Latins, we are, you know, closer and we like to express our emotions physically. And perhaps it's not only a physical contact, it's like, we could say that perhaps we are more open, etc. But in business, sounds like a little bit different. It's like they are the ones who are more interested in this personal connection, regardless of the physical contact.
Yeah.
And sounds like the Western people are more direct. It's like you said before, I give you this, you give me that, that's all. We don't need to be friends. So I don't know if there's a contradiction here or it's just two different things, two different worlds acting in different ways depending on the context.
Yeah, I think we can't call it contradiction. It's just different approach. Of course, there could be some exceptions from that. I think some Western companies could also be based on relationship. It depends on which country we are talking about. For example, Spain, I would say that, yeah, it's you could call it relationship-based country because sometimes you also build this connection, but it's not a must in Spain. So sometimes yes, sometimes no. In China, it's always a must. And we are not talking here, we are not talking about physical contact. It's something like more, some empirical bond. You know, so you have to build this affective trust and also the cognitive trust with the person at the same time. So in China, it's just the base for all the relationships, not only the business ones but also the personal ones.
Sounds like the first piece of advice would be patient, because you cannot expect perhaps quick results if you have to build a relationship first.
Yes, it's correct. You have to be patient, and sometimes you have to think forward and to think with the long-term category. And you have to see your objective, of course. But sometimes you need to know that you have to wait for it, because you are building the connection before getting to what you want.
But you know, Alexandra, I think that we are touching one of the main points here, because perhaps that's one of the most difficult things in our culture, this patience to think on the long term. And then we are, let's say, competing or dealing with a country that has this long-term vision as a part of their culture, you know, and they work every day. That's my impression, thinking of how beneficial this will be for the future. And we don't have that in Europe. At least I don't see it. So perhaps it's the first conflict, is how these two entities, one with the, looking so far and the other looking so close, can really match and understand each other.
Well, that's the difficult part here, because you have to you have to balance it. Both of the side has to step forward, right? And you make an exception, and China makes an exception, and you have to just to find the balance in that. I wouldn't say that China is thinking way too forward, but it's just it takes more time for them to build the contract, to build the trust, and to start trusting you. Because before closing any deal, they need to feel that, yeah, you are reliable. You spend some time together, or even if you're not in China, well, they can rely on you, they can trust you, and after that you will close the deal. In Spain, maybe it's a little bit faster, as you said, because you don't pay attention too much to this aspect. Probably in Spain, you take it for granted. Maybe I think, well, my vision, my feeling in Spain, that sometimes, yeah, trust is coming faster here, probably. Or maybe it's just natural, well, I don't know, you know better, you're a Spanish person. In China, well, in the beginning, no, they will be quite cold, and then slowly this trust will be built. Well, you tell me better about trust and Spanish people. What's your impression?
I am Galician, actually, and we are the stereotype in Spain of people that, it's difficult for us to trust. But of course, I think it's not comparable to that mentality, because, of course, perhaps we're a little more suspicious, but yeah, we don't need so much to trust a person. I think it's like, yeah, actually, once we see some feedback, I think that it's natural for us to trust and to give an opportunity. But then I think, according to what you were saying, it's not only a protocol, it's not only a historical tradition. Actually, it's like fear to be fooled or to lose something in this relationship. So they are really intentionally and called cautious, because they have fear of choosing the wrong interlocutor or partner. So would you use the word fear as part of this culture?
No, I wouldn't use the word fear, because when you start working with Chinese, it will be you who would be asking for favorable conditions, right? So when they start when you come to close the contract, first of all, the conditions that Chinese people are stating for you will be more profitable for them. And well, the fear for them, economical fear, it might be that at the end, probably you don't pay or something, but there are instruments to make sure that the payment is done. Well, there are bank guarantees or something like that. Right? So I wouldn't choose fear, because they just probably are too cautious, right? To show they can to show to the customer, or to show to the business partner that they could actually be more flexible in some way. So at the beginning, they're quite firm and rigid, but then when the trust comes, well, they become better.
Okay. Okay, yeah. Let's say that after that, these first steps are well done, and they kind of start to trust you, and you can say that you have a relationship. And I guess that at some point, yeah, you start having meetings, or you have some more direct contact with them. And then the closer you are, perhaps the easier it is to find conflictive points or conflictive differences. So let's keep on talking about that, about these differences that you see, and especially perhaps the things that you should do or should not do when you are in this process of building the relationship, or the kind of things that help and the kind of things that can spoil it all.
Okay. Yeah, talking about the things that you must do and must not do. The other important thing that you must keep in mind, and you must do in China, is to protect the face. Because after the guanxi, after the relationship, there is coming a concept of face. Face, Chinese means, is a person's reputation for some or some feelings for acknowledging something. So it's kind of a personality or persona that you present to the public, right? You present to your workplace, to your to anybody who surrounds you, or to your partners, or to your friends, and so on. So what you must do is to give the face always, and make sure that neither you or more importantly, your business partner doesn't lose the face. How the partner can lose the face? Never make him lose the face, for example. Never question his ability. Because especially in public, if, for example, if you're having a meeting with Chinese people, and you know that one of your partners made a mistake, or probably he's not right, but there are another people of his group at the meeting at the same time. Never criticize this person publicly or openly, because like this, he will lose the face in front of another people. In Western world, we don't have this. I think we could criticize publicly, no matter, depending on the country as well. But in China, it's always about indirect negative feedback. It's never direct, right? So make sure that you do not say anything negative to a person in front of another people, because like this the person loses the face. Actually, when we if we think about this concept of face, we could consider one situation of negotiation, for example, right? In China, it's quite typical to not to say no for an answer, but they always say like, yeah, I will try, I will do my best, or let's see what I can do. It means no, but they will never tell you no. Why? Because they will lose face if they say no. So you have to remember that. And this face concept should be always in your mind, and never provoke a person to lose, or never push person to lose face, right? So I think this is the must do. Always keep in mind this concept, this concept of face in your mind, right?
Sorry, one question here. If when they say, yeah, that's interesting, yeah, well, we can consider
it's a no.
This is a no. So what is a yes? What can you consider, okay, this is a 100% yes, and I can finish the meeting with a conviction that he or she said yes?
Well, if they tell you directly yes, like affirmative yes, that really satisfies your question, then it means yes. Sometimes this yes could be also vague. For example, you hear yes, but you have some doubts. In this case, you have to ask clarifying questions. And probably when you ask clarifying questions, it will turn out that 80% is a no and 20% is a yes. So you always have to extract the information from them. Why? Because talking about the language itself, Chinese language belongs to the category of high context language. High context language means that they never say directly. You always have to guess, and you have to guess by how something is said. It's kind of, reading the air. Yeah, because Spanish people are much more direct, but not as direct as, let's say, Americans. No? But Spanish is somewhere in the middle. Chinese are highly indirect. So even, yeah, you hear the yes, but behind this yes could be some no's. So to extract this information, you ask questions. There is no other way out.
Okay, let's say that I'm in a meeting with them. I have learned my lesson, and I ask some questions, and they say this vague, yes, well, perhaps, and I think, oh, this is a 20% yes. Yeah. What should be my reaction? Waiting politely and then in a future meeting on an email, or at the moment to try to change or to revert that situation?
I suggest you do it in the moment. You try to fix as many moments, as many points as possible during the meeting or face-to-face meeting. It's always more recommendable, because like this you see the personal reaction as well. So, and also by being there, by being by yourself in the meeting, it's kind of putting pressure on them. If you start negotiating just by email, well, you will never get what you want. So better to do everything when you have a good chance to do it.
One question, we are talking about their mentality, but you were there from the other point of view. So what's their view about ours? It's like, and how would you say that they make any efforts, or they are interested in adapting to our mentality, or basically they think if they want to make businesses with us, they have to adapt to our way of doing it? How flexible and how open are they?
Well, I wouldn't say that flexibility, well, 100% flexibility is a mark for Chinese people, because for them, I think it requires much bigger effort than for Western people to open the mind and to understand how the people on the other side think. But they are willing to learn. It's a good thing. I think even modern Chinese, and probably most of them, if the person is willing to learn, and if you point him into the right direction, he would be interested to know how you think, and to understand, well, to decode your behavior as well. But I think that when Westerners come to China, of course, the strategy is to adapt more to the Chinese way, but to preserve some important traits of your strategy as well. But of course, it will be you at the first place who's adapting. That's for sure, once you have business there in the country.
You were talking about the things that the must do's. What about the things that you should never do if you're in a meeting with them? Well, of course, kissing each other, just forget it, you know, this kind of physical contact.
Yeah.
What else?
So no physical contact. Shaking hands is okay. So when you're in a meeting, you shake hands, it's totally fine, but not more than that. So avoid excessive body contact. No? Then if we talk about another body language, then probably eye contact is not really essential. If you compare it to the Western way of communication, we establish the eye contact, and in the Western culture, it's like sometimes it's considered rude. Yeah, when you don't look me in the eye, well, you're hiding something. In Chinese, not. It's sometimes people treat it as a sign of mistrust or some disapproval when they don't look you in the eye, but it's just their way. It's kind of a common Chinese practice not to look you in the eye. So they might even consider if you look them in the eye, then maybe it's kind of aggressive for them. So probably you should also try to avoid it. Then what else? Isn't some interesting things for the business meeting? Like when you are in a business lunch or business dinner, never tap your chopsticks into the meal like this. For example, if you have like let's see, this 2 chopsticks, you never put them like this into the meal. You always put them aside. Why? Because these well, 2 vertical lines of chopsticks, they kind of look similar as a character 4, and the character 4 is pronounced exactly same as death, but is written in the same in another way. So it's really not polite, at least, to do it this way. So just put them aside. Then well, this is about the general etiquette and behavior. No? So anything else? For example, if you wanna give a gift to your Chinese customer or business partner, be careful with gifts as well. For example, never give watch, because it's also associated with the word death or funeral. Well, they have their own traditions, and be careful with the gifts in general. Because sometimes it might be considered as a bribe. So when you prepare a present, if it's simple, not expensive, okay. But with expensive ones, be really careful.
Returning to the point of the business mentality and the reputation, this interesting concept, the importance of being careful and not to express publicly, you know, that you are dissatisfied with the behavior of action of one concrete person. But so then how do you deal when there are incidents, you know, when there are mistakes, and sometimes these business relationships require to talk about a problem and the responsibility of someone and the compensation of that problem. So how you should deal with them when you have problems in the business and you think it's their fault?
Okay, well, it's, of course, it's a sensitive topic, not only for dealing with Chinese people, but I think generally, no matter who you deal with, and especially if the fault is not on you, then you need to claim for some compensation. It always requires an effort. With Chinese, of course, it's with Chinese, it will be maybe double a thing of double difficulty, because at the first time they would try not to accept that they did something wrong. They would probably feel like, okay, or they will try to convince you that everything was okay, everything was as expected, but well, if you don't like it, well, probably it's your problem, not theirs. So there are two ways. Probably the first one is the official one, to take your contract and you start these long negotiations, pointing in the contract saying that, oh, you see, this is written like this and you didn't do it in this way. But usually they don't respond well to that, because they don't pay a lot of attention to the official documentation, honestly. And actually, that's a really important point, because contract in China doesn't mean a big deal. Even if it's signed, probably the conditions could change after signature, and it's difficult to fight over it. So my way of solving the issues after the issues arise, probably it's using this guanxi, the relationship. So you try to solve it in a friendly manner. Probably you you set up dinners, you talk maybe in unofficial atmosphere, then in official again, then prepare for long negotiations. And when they see that you really dedicate a lot to this issue, to this problem, when they really, of course, you have to convince them that it's reasonable what you're asking, and they will understand in the end. But you have to push and make effort, and it will require time, and be ready for long business meetings. For example, one of my longest negotiations, I think it was like 18 hours. It's 18 hours sitting at the table, just to close one issue. And it's like this, they don't care. You show them that you're committed, they show to you, okay, we are also committed, and then somehow you will find the middle point, but it will require time. Yeah.
And what about us? For example, if they they need to defend their position because that the country would harm the reputation. Do they expect the same from you? Let's say that the Western partner makes a mistake. Are they, do they appreciate that the Western partner admits the mistake and offers a compensation, or they appreciate more when they see the same kind of reaction? It's like, no, we do everything okay, and perhaps it was your interpretation. Do they expect the same reaction, or what?
Well, I can't recall the real situations of this kind. Well, I don't know, maybe it's just because in my practice the mistake was always on Chinese people. I don't know. Yeah, but I can't say that they expect you to behave exactly as they behave themselves. They understand there are cultural differences. So in the beginning, of course, you should also be firm in your position. You are representative of your business model, So of course, you are free to behave as your culture and as your way of management tells you to do. You also have to show them that we do in this way in our country. So I want it to be this way. Then during the negotiation, you could maybe adapt some techniques from them, so they see there is an understanding. So you are not just two people talking exactly different languages. But in the beginning, I don't think it's a great problem to try to solve the issue in a Western way.
But I mean, let's say that you are the Chinese and I'm the Western. I make a mistake. You contact me your way with your manners to let me know that there was a problem. What do you prefer? What is the kind of answer that the Chinese prefer? That I say that I have the Western reaction, which is, because normally with a customer, the best reaction is, oh yeah, you are right. I'm sorry, don't worry, I will compensate that. But they understand that as a weakness. That's what I ask you. Or they prefer this kind of reaction as a customer? I don't know.
Well, the customer is also always right in China. They pay a lot of attention to customer service. So if the mistake in this situation is really on you and you want to preserve this relationship, then probably you should admit it. I would advise to admit it.
Okay. Yeah.
But of course you could admit it, but of course if you want to negotiate some friendly conditions for the compensations or something, then you could also start it. But
but I find it a little unfair, when it's their mistake, they say no, it's not my mistake because it would harm my reputation, but it was my mistake, I have to admit it.
Yeah, but then because they will say it's not their mistake in the beginning, but after you start negotiating, they will admit, or they will admit partly. But in the beginning, yeah, it will be just like a little bit hard. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I guess that there are many different things. From the point of view of customers, just a couple of more questions. At least let's try to touch that, because yeah, we were thinking of perhaps finding providers or business partners, but when you're actually trying to sell your products or services to Chinese consumers, what should we know about their profiles as buyers, consumers?
Well, the profile of a modern Chinese buyer, of a consumer, of course, it's changing every day. And if I compare Chinese people, how they were like 10 years ago, they are totally not the same now. They are, I think, the major trend is that they are getting more and more sophisticated in their demand. Of course, Chinese people are rich. It's everybody knows they consume well. They purchase the world's 34 luxury goods, if I'm not mistaken. I was reading actually about the I think it was Maserati campaign, online campaign in China, when they sold 100 pieces in 18 seconds. So yeah, they have money, they are sophisticated, but it doesn't mean they are just spending money in whatever way. I think they are looking for value for money, and you have to offer something really unique, something interesting, and probably high technological, innovative, that they can try and they can say, oh, it's something new. I want to try it, and I'm interested. It's not on the market yet. So they're not just looking for a way to spend their money, but they are looking for the value of the product as well. Because there was a period, I think, when Chinese people they got rich and they were just spending, but now they pay attention to innovation, and they are looking for the, let's say, diversification in terms of the products offered. So when you're selling in China, I think you have to think about adapting or customizing the product to Chinese taste, because if you are just coming with the Western view, Western product, but you're not thinking about the profile of consumers itself. For example, when let's say fashion brands were coming to China in the very beginning, they didn't think that the Chinese let's say even fitting way was different. So they had to adapt the styles themselves, and they had to adapt also the way the fashion sees it. And nowadays, I think the consumers like to interact and to use different interaction campaigns. For example, there was a campaign of Coca-Cola in China when they were selling bottles with a QR code on it. And when you scan this QR, because now you're using applications for anything, you scan this QR and it shows you like a virtual tour of some city, of some famous city of China. And a lot of people, they were getting proud, because imagine you are from Vigo and you see Vigo just scanning the Coca-Cola, and you feel proud and you want to tell at least about this product to your friends, or to get more or something like that. So there is always this digital interaction. And I think the major trend now is also the recycling, the environment protection. So probably some of your clients or people who want to get into the Chinese market, they can offer something related to that. That's the trend now. And of course, they digitalize your business, because China is on the way of it is already in the digital revolution, and it's digitalizing every aspect of the society, which is quite fascinating. And I see how the country is changing every year. You have to digitalize, and you have to be innovative and invest a lot in research and development, probably.
Yeah, so digitalization and localization of your messages and your marketing and campaigns and strategies are definitely crucial, according to what you say. One more question, Alexandra. The language, in the meetings, in the business relationship, how important it is, how necessary do you think it is the effort to learn Chinese, or English is enough for these kind of interactions?
If Chinese people speak English, right? They are all involved in international trade somehow, and English is a mandatory language. They speak quite well. A lot of people actually studying abroad and coming to China. But when it comes to doing business with them, and when it involves Chinese people and the, let's say English speaking or Western people, the official language for communication during the business negotiation will be Chinese. You could be speaking English, but somebody will be translating for you. English, Chinese, I think it's one of the must do in China, because if you want really to prosper, if you want to get to the bottom of Chinese mentality and to really gain their trust, you show this commitment also by speaking Chinese, and it really facilitates all that you're gonna do in China. Because starting from there, let's say you want to verify the supplier, you go to the government website, which is in Chinese, and you verify his information. You see if it's not in a blacklist, you see if he has any debts. You want to participate in business meeting, in English it's fine, but when you speak Chinese, you will hear the nuances. You would be able, as I said before, to read between the lines and to understand what they really want or what they're really thinking. So it's advisable, highly advisable for me. But I know people who live there for many years and
they don't speak Chinese. Well, yeah. So perhaps I think that the conclusion is, first of all, be familiar with the cultural aspect. That's the priority, to learn about the kind of things that we have been discussing today. That is only the beginning of the beginning, I guess. But just try to focus on that. And of course, if you can speak Chinese, better. But for now, I mean, with English is possible, but better with Chinese. Doors will be more open, perhaps, etc. Well, Alexandra, you know what? I think that this is the kind of topic that is a webcast is not enough, definitely.
Yeah,
and
I feel so.
Yeah, it would be beautiful, you know, to provide more than a webcast, a training itself to people interested about these protocols, about to put into practice, you know, our way, you know, our methods, you know, the simulation or the role play of situations applied into these Chinese intercultural relationships. In Chinese, in Spanish, or in English. In this case, the language is almost secondary. Perhaps it's an opportunity to practice the language, but the main thing is, so if you're interested, if you are listening to this webcast and you are interested, you know, keep in touch, because we might open soon again, because we have done this before for our companies, a training on that. And perhaps we are lucky and we can count on Alexandra for some collaboration in this specific training. That would be great.
So I think that would be great.
Yeah. Well, how was it? How was your first experience on LINGUA GYM TV? Did you enjoy it? Yeah,
it's pretty fun. It's pretty fun, very dynamic, and I hope it was useful for everybody who was listening and watching.
That was a Chinese yes or a Western yes, just to make sure.
That was a Western yes.
Okay, so it's 100% yes. You enjoyed.
It was 100% yes.
Great, fantastic. As you can see, Alexandra can speak Russian, Chinese, English, and Spanish. I think that's all for languages.
Yeah. Oh, it's enough.
Yeah, and you teach.
Is on the way.
And you can teach 3 of them. And you have been here, so congratulations, because I know that in your everyday you speak more Spanish than Chinese. So, but as you can see, once you are strong with the language, you don't need too much to feel fluent and strong. Any recommendation that you would give to these people that are watching this webinar as a way of practicing English, and they are sometimes, how our students sometimes feel reluctant to accept and to face these challenges? And you have a lot of experience in international contexts, speaking to non-native speakers. What is your main recommendation for those people who are afraid of facing those business situations in the language that they're learning?
Well, I think when there is a fear, the best way to combat this fear is to face the fear. So if you're afraid of some particular situation, actually the way of synergy is using in this workshop or classes, you simulate and you confront this fear. If you want to take it one step forward, then you just find some native speaker. There are plenty of opportunities online. You can find a pen friend or whatever, and you could practice speaking or listening with this person. Or if you are already dealing with international trade or with any business situation that you want to practice, just don't hesitate and try to get into it and just to dive into it, and don't be scared, because the language cannot be practiced without practice itself. If you want to speak well, you have to practice. There is no other way.
Yeah, that's totally true, and I fully agree. So thank you very much again, Alexandra.
Thank you.
And great to have you here. I hope to be in touch. And yeah, let's see the kind of project that we can develop together. And well, it has been a pleasure counting on you. And for our audience, thanks for being here. I hope that you have enjoyed a lot. See you again in September. We are having a break now for the following 2 weeks in August. We are stopping our weekly webcasts, and we will be back in September with very interesting topics again about many different things, and of course always helping you with your English and other languages. But Lingua Gym doesn't stop. Lingua Gym remains open. We never close. So remember, go to our website, synergydidactics.com, to start your free trial. And like Alexandra said, start being brave, facing the challenges, and here we are to help you. So good afternoon, good evening, everybody, and see you soon on Lingua Gym TV. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.